Today is
All right.
Wednesday, June 7th, 2012. We're at the Crestview Senior Center in Crestwood, Missouri. We are interviewing for the Missouri Veterans History Project. With me is Roger Fredrickson, serving as the videographer, and Carolyn Altepeter, serving as logger, and I'm Charles Schneider, serving as the interviewer. We are talking with Barney Moeller.
Right.
Would you spell, say your full name and then spell it for us?
Bernard H. Moeller, known as Barney.
Okay,
Moeller.
great. So where were you born and when?
I was born in St. Louis, Missouri on Austria Avenue. That's 2 blocks this side of River de Pere, right off of Gravois.
You said Austria?
Mm-hmm.
Austria Avenue, okay. And what were your parents' names?
Edward and Wilhelmina, known as Minnie.
Okay. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I had an older brother and a younger brother. Older one's 3 years older than me. The younger one is still alive. He's 11 years younger than I am.
What were their names?
The old one was Edgar, and the younger one is John.
And tell me a little something about your mother and father.
Well, Mom, she spent all her time doing housework, raising kids, whatnot. Dad, he was in construction. He did ditch digging, run construction machinery till he lost his eyesight, and he still ran ditching machines for many years after that. And he was in demand for repairs and maintenance on the same machine. During World War II, he was called to go down to the barracks to check out some sewers and water lines because they were putting up tents and whatnot, and they wanted to, take care of things. So he was pointing out where it should be, and they said, the maps don't show that. He said, well, there it is. You dig, you find it. And so they saved quite a lot of time by doing that.
So you grew up in the Depression. Was that a hard time for
Oh,
you and
yeah.
your family?
Oh, yeah. I know about large sandwiches and a little sugar on top. A lot of calories there, keeps you going.
Just
Ketchup sandwich, yeah.
Just a bread sandwich with sugar on top?
Mm.
Bologna sandwiches too?
If you were lucky, you got bologna.
Oh, lucky was an upgrade. I mean,
Yeah,
bologna was an
You're
upgrade.
getting high on the hog now.
Okay.
Fried bologna. Fried bologna.
That's good if you cut the edges. You got to do that. Otherwise, it doesn't come out right. It'll never lay flat.
Did you go to high school?
1 year.
What high school was that?
Central High, North St. Louis.
Okay.
I was living on Sullivan Avenue at that time.
Did you need to drop out to work to support
Yeah, I
your
went to
family?
work. Turned 16, I went to work next day. When I retired, when I checked with my accumulated vacation time that I never took, when I went from one job to another, stuff like that, I still had days coming.
Okay. So growing up, did you ever go see the Browns or the Cardinals play baseball as a
As a
member?
kid, yeah, I had knot-hole cards.
You had knothole cards so far. That's a popular membership.
Well, I used to have the cards, but I didn't go to the games. After 12 years of age, I didn't see a professional ball game until I was in the service.
Because you had to work after school?
Well, not only that, I didn't care for it.
Okay.
The games we played were a lot different than the majors. And we used to hit the ball, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And people like Dizzy Dean, now he had a lot of speed, yeah, but he was very easy to hit. Stick the bat out there and bang, there it goes. All you had to do is pick your place,
Mm-hmm.
That took a little difference.
What did it take to be a member of the Knothole Gang?
Be alive.
Okay.
And then you go around to whoever, your Iceman, your car dealer, your YMCA, church groups, all kinds of places had them.
Oh, and it was free?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to get 10, 12 cards every year.
All right, and then with
And
that
then the
card-
nuns, when they would get somebody, for an infraction, why, they'd take their card.
Oh, my goodness.
And then after school, well, I'd go and loan them one of mine. Till the nun caught me one time.
So
So
these
she-
were free tickets to go to a baseball game and sit
Oh, yeah.
in a certain part of the stadium. Okay, that was nice. They don't do that. So you went to a parochial school and you had some troubles with the nuns, maybe, or not?
Well, you always do. In fourth grade, I had a lot of trouble, but that gal, she wound up having a tumor on her brain, and when they fixed her up, why, she was fine.
Okay.
But up until that time, why, she was something else.
Okay.
Girls could do no wrong, boys were evil.
Yeah. So you started work at 16. So
Mm-hmm.
you worked for a few years before the war started. So what did you do in those?
Well,
years?
I started out, I got my first job at Bus Fuse Company, worked there 2 weeks, quit. I got another job immediately after that. I went to work for Hearst Candy Company. I worked there for 2 weeks and quit. They even offered me a raise, but I still quit. Bakery is not where you want to work.
Right.
2 o'clock, well, I started at 5 o'clock in the morning, but the chief baker starts at 2. And it's hot, and it's heavy, and it's hard. And I weighed like 115 pounds. Can you imagine me trying to take a container of stuff out of a mixer? You got to lift it about 4 inches before you can pull it out. No way, but the baker wasn't a whole lot bigger than me. He was just 10 years older.
So what'd you do after quitting those 2 jobs? What'd you do after quitting those jobs?
Well, then I went to work for Thornoley Dental Supply, and I worked there for 4 years. And then I got a job at Lehman Machine Company, and I worked there for right at 24 years.
Were you still living at home,
Oh, yeah.
helping out the family? Paying a little rent, I suppose?
Oh, yeah. Well, when I was errand boy and getting $10 a week, well, I gave my mother 7. I put 1 in the bank for me, and I had $2 to just fritter away.
How old were you when you were an errand boy?
Say 18 till 21.
Okay, I got it. So where were you on December 7th, 1941?
I was at Lehman Lathe Company building machinery. Actually, I was in a protected essential industry. We were building machine tools. And when I got to the barracks, they said I shouldn't be there, and I was ready to go back home. And they said, no, can't do.
So were you drafted?
Oh, yeah. Who wants to sign up to get shot at?
So how did you get into the Navy?
I was down at the barracks. I've gone
This
through
is
the
Jefferson Barracks that you talked
Jefferson
about.
Barracks, and I went through all the stuff that they have, the tests, this, that, and the other thing, medical exam. I'd recently had an appendix operation, and the doctor, he poked my belly, and he says, firm scar, write that down, firm scar. And that was the end of that. My doctor said they'd never take me that way, but they did.
So you got assigned to the Navy after being drafted?
I had my choice. I could
Okay.
pick. But the Army and the Marines, they wear ties. They also sleep in the same water they're going to shave in and make coffee with in the morning. Not for me.
Okay.
So I got the Navy. All he got is a neckerchief, nice and open.
You expressed that well in a way that we hadn't heard. Okay, so you signed up for the Navy. Walk us through where you went to base camp and some of the other bases
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
before you went overseas.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, it had been a CCC camp.
Civilian Conservation Corps.
Mm-hmm. And didn't have any fat guys in that either.
So how did you become a machinist mate? What put you on that career track?
Well, I was apprentice machinist where I worked. We were building machine tools, and what I was doing primarily was assembly. But I had run almost every machine in the shop. In fact, I can't think of one I had run, and done all the operations and whatnot. And then I had a full year of my apprentice in when I got drafted. 3 other guys got drafted at the same time, and they were fine. When I came back, all those that didn't get drafted were journeymen and making big money, and there I was still an apprentice. Not good.
So you're on your way to being a machinist mate, and then where did they transfer you after Coeur d'Alene?
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I went to machinist school in San Diego. And from there I went to Camp Pendleton, California. Spent some time there, and then got papers to be shipped out and went to New Orleans. And at that time I got on after that was over with, I got on LST that had been built up north somewhere and come down the Ohio and the Mississippi and whatnot. New crew, only 2, maybe 4 people on there had ever been out on the ocean before. The captain and the executive officer and I think a guy in the engine room. But that was odd. We'd go from there to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, big storm blowing up, anchors out, engines running all night to keep the boat from drifting. And in the morning when we woke up, there's boats on flats all over the place, mud flats. They drugged their anchors and had a mess. So we were all right for that. And then after we left, we went to Panama. And on the way, a submarine that was in our group somehow or other picked up on a Nazi submarine and sunk it. And they came in with a big old broom on the periscope. And then we went...
Broom symbolized that they...
Well, clean sweep.
Oh, clean sweep, okay.
Everybody's got to have their little thing.
Sure.
And then we went through the canal. And then on the other side, after we got in the ocean, out Pacific, we came across a whale carcass. They stink when they're dead for a while. And then after that, it was uneventful until the night, I guess about 2 days out of Samoa. Either Samoa or Bora Bora, one or two. But the engines quit. Fellow transferring fuel to the main banks and the galley. He somehow or other managed to pump salt water in. And when that hit the injectors, the engines died. And there we are, we're wallowing around in the water, nothing. And I'm sitting on the fantail with another guy. I'd been down in the engine room helping. And we're looking around, and I see this white streak, and he says, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, it looks like a torpedo." And he says, "Where do we go now?" And I said, well, "No place to run. It's too far to swim." And under the boat and the way it went, so we were safe. Next time in Leyte Gulf, when there was a torpedo, we had hit, and that was it, boy. I was 4 decks down then. Scared the hell out of me.
Right, so you were crossing from the Caribbean to the Pacific and then LST. When did you transfer, convert to the USS Honolulu?
Well, I went to Bora Bora, Samoa, and then the Green Islands. In Samoa, I got a nail in my foot on a work party, so they had me driving a truck, light duty, nice new Chevrolet truck, 3 years old, no brakes, no headlights. It had been brutally treated. But garbage running was a nice duty, you know, to run around, pick up cans, bottles, whatnot.
All right, but when did you get on the USS Honolulu?
Well, after, let's see, I got off the LSD, got on a minesweeper. We had one down on the riverfront for a while, a little, real
Okay.
small job with a 3-inch gun on front. And that's where I lost most of my hearing to start with. They were practicing the gunnery, and somebody said, let's try it and see if it works. They put in a live one just as I was coming around deck house, and I didn't hear anything for about 3-4 days. Made a difference. And then there's, let's see, got on a PT boat and went to Guadalcanal. Spent the evening there. In fact, overnight we slept in a tent. First time I've ever slept in a tent. And while we were in the chow line, the guy in front of me, he goes, "Whoops, what's that?" He thought he got stung by a bee, but it was still hot. It was a bullet come through the woods and whatnot. There's still Japs all around the place. And he eventually got a Purple Heart. Somebody hurt him, and they called the corpsman, and the corpsman put a Band-Aid on him and wrote him up. And on board the Honolulu, one day we had quarters, and here he come with a ribbon. I missed about that far, getting killed.
Okay. So after the PT,
Then I went to Green Island.
okay.
Yeah, that's on there somewhere.
But you were not on the Honolulu at that
No,
time? Okay.
no, I was still in transit. Till I got to Green Islands, I was always on different things. I was on a Higgins boat then. There was a bunch of us riding in that thing.
Oh, a little Higgins boat, okay.
Yeah.
It's a little boat for a big ocean.
Yeah, we got on the big PT boat first to get to Green Island, and then they dumped us, well, to Guadalcanal, and they dumped us off. And then when we got on the other one, they took us to Green Island, we got on there, and then I was assigned to that ship. And it had left Long Beach, California about the same time I left Pendleton. And I went all over the place, and they went right on out there. But what they'd done after they got rebuilt was they'd taken new crew on, and they're training everybody.
So where is the Green Islands?
Somewhere around the Guadalcanal, in the
Okay.
Solomons somewhere.
Okay, I see. So that's where you were
First,
transferred onto the...
yeah, I got on it, and I stayed on it then all the way through to Philadelphia when it was decommissioned.
All right, well, let's take a photograph of you with your paraphernalia from... did you want to wear this cap or just
As
show
long as
it?
it don't just
And then you
think
got
it
to
covers
hold...
my face.
You got to hold this up because
Yeah.
we want you to explain
Yeah,
the
see,
symbols.
Okay, now that's different from what you think it is. That's 6 months on station.
Right.
There's 18 continuous months on station.
Okay. And should I put this in front of him or hold it?
Oh, you're doing fine, but we also need to point out some of the
Okay.
artifacts on there, what their meanings are.
Okay, this represents the Honolulu?
Yeah, that's the ship, yeah.
And what are these smaller ships here?
These are different ships that they either sank or had contact with.
All right, and this looks like a bomb.
Yeah, they had a bomb drop very close to them. The St. Louis actually got hit later on and killed 20 some odd people.
And are these torpedoes here? Or
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
those three.
when they picked up before I got on it, they had 2 torpedoes. One came in the bow and one hit right in the back end, right there.
Okay, so
And then
meant
it
that
fell
the
out.
Honolulu had been torpedoed 3 times.
Yeah. This one time it was hit twice at one night.
All right.
And the bow from about here on eventually broke off. They had to cut it off.
Well,
And then it went back to the States, got rebuilt. The other one stuck in the back end, and they wiggled the ship, and they finally had it fall out. Thank God it didn't explode. That's where the aircraft hangar is.
okay.
And it would have sunk the ship real quick.
In the rising or setting sun Japanese flag, the 4, what
planes.
does that represent?
Those are airplanes, and then these are gun emplacements on the beach, whatnot.
Did you
They
show-
were all over the place in the Solomons, Guadalcanal, Midway, and Guam, Saipan, all of those places.
And so this is the history of the various
That's where
battles and places.
they
that the
were,
ship
and then
went.
I go from here down,
And he
and I
joined-
have 5 battle stars.
And he joined at Green Island.
Yeah, from here on down, I have 5 battle stars: Saipan, Guam, Southern Palau, Leyte Gulf.
Leyte Gulf. Did you get that, Roger?
Got it now.
Okay. So from Green Island south is where Mr. Moeller came on and has 5 battle stars from that.
Right.
Okay, so do you wear this out on nights when you're out socializing?
Well, once in a while, like grandkids have Veterans Day and stuff, I take it along and let them have it for show and tell and whatnot.
Okay. Oh, very good, okay.
They get a kick out of it.
So what was Leyte Gulf like? Were you involved in the landing?
Yeah, we had come up and we'd gone through this big storm, and that was a monster, boy, I'll tell you, because they had sunk a bunch of these baby carriers they had. A whole bunch of other ships got lost in that. And you could look out and see ships sitting on top of a wave, and then all of a sudden, why, you didn't see anything. And then the next thing you know, here comes a ship again. There's a lot of rough water out there.
So was the U.S. Honolulu supporting with the landings at Leyte Beach or at Leyte Island?
Well, we were in the Gulf part. We'd anchored in there. It was considered a safe anchorage. So we pulled in, we're sitting there, and here comes one lone plane over the top of the hill and down, cutting tree limbs as he goes. He's real close to the ground. Gets over the water, he drops up one torpedo, and he goes right back the same way. Nobody fired a shot.
And that's a torpedo that
Hit the bow and killed about, what was it, 26, 27 people.
could you feel the impact of the torpedo on the ship?
Yeah, I was 4 decks down, waiting to go on watch, and let's see, there was radio 3 right next to me. Then the next compartment is the lower end of number 4 turret, and we eventually got out through the turret because we didn't know how much flooding was going on. First, we had to sit there until we could make communication somehow and figure out whether there was water on the other side or not, and then crawl out.
Must have been kind of scary being
Oh, yeah, yeah.
4 decks below and you're not too sure what's
Yeah,
going to
you're
happen.
below the water line. It doesn't make
trapped.
any difference.
So as a machinist mate, you also had the double duty doing watch and other.
Well, yeah, you had engine room. I was a throttleman on number 4
Alright.
throttle. And after that, why, I was on 40 millimeter guns mostly, passing ammunition.
So did the Japanese aircraft attack the plane at Leyte Gulf any more than that one single
Just
flight?
that one.
Okay.
Next airplane that came through was a torpedo bomber, ours. He said he had difficulties, he was going to go in the water. He was in friendly territory. And this plane comes down the line, he's just about ready to hit the water, and somebody sees him and jumps on a gun by himself, and he cranks it one way, and he cranks it the other, and he, boom, hits the pedal, and he gets 4 shots, one clip, and he hit that thing 4 times, peeled it like an onion, didn't kill anybody. 3 guys hit the water and didn't even need their parachutes.
Lucky. So after Leyte Gulf, where did the Honolulu and you go?
We went to Manus in Borneo, and largest floating dry dock in the world at that time. Got on that, and they patched a hole, extracted the bodies and whatnot, and we got the ship to where it was seaworthy, and then we went back to the States. Stopped at Pearl Harbor, pulled in. I'm on deck, I'm ready to go ashore, and they say lay below and light off, and I had to go right back down. All I saw of Hawaii was the side of a dock.
Well, tell us a little something about a light cruiser. How many men would be, sailors would be on a light cruiser, and what kind of armaments did you have?
It had 6-inch guns, and there was 3 to a turret, and there's 5 turrets. The heavy cruisers, the same identical thing. They were 10,000-ton ships. They had 8-inch guns, 2 to a turret, and they had, I believe, 3 turrets.
So how many men on a light cruiser?
I think it could go as high as 1,200, but I don't know for sure. I never bothered to count, to tell you the truth.
You were just concerned with your area, I'm
Well,
sure.
yeah, actually, most of the time you're on a ship, where you're at, where you work, and everything else is more or less out of bounds, because you don't have any business there, so you don't go there.
So you go, you've got where you eat, you sleep, your workstation, and so you don't get to walk around touring the ship, obviously.
No, it's not a pleasure cruise.
I know. It's kind of a small world. It's like infantry. They know where their unit is, and they don't really know who's on the left and right, and they're just looking forward. So did the war end while the Honolulu was in dry dock or back in Pearl Harbor, or it went back to the United States?
Well, we went back all the way we went back through the canal. We went up the east coast to Norfolk. We got it rebuilt there. Then we went to Philadelphia, and then we also spent some time at Rhode Island. We were training midshipmen and whatnot. We'd take them out for a day and then bring them back, dump them off. And kind of a weird place up there. The harbor's nothing but rocks. We lost half a dozen whaleboats while we were there. Everybody lost a whaleboat. And the temperature would hover right around freezing. It wouldn't get down cold enough to freeze. But between 110% humidity and a constant fog and whatnot, you reach in your locker and you got clothes out, it was already wet. Very, very uncomfortable. And we hadn't used the heating system since the ship had been in Alaska, and that was right at the beginning of the war. And that thing didn't work very well at all. It wasn't made for it. Now they're air conditioned and everything. It's a whole world of difference.
So did the war end while you were in the Atlantic and those?
It
Those
ended
sports.
while I was in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And then I got to leave there and go to Bainbridge, Maryland to be mustered out. And then I had like 60 days coming for leave when I got home. And I was out busy looking for a job, and I finally got one. Went to Eden Seminary,
In Webster Groves?
and I was assistant chief engineer.
Oh, my God.
They give me a title instead of a salary.
Well, I live in Webster Grove, so there it is. So, you got home from the service. I bet you got married.
Oh yeah, afterwards, yeah.
Well, tell me about who you married and when.
Married my wife. Let's see, it must have been 48, somewhere around there, I guess. Anyway, we were married for 63 years. She finally died 2009.
When did you retire
I retired in 85,
from Eden Seminary?
but I didn't want to retire. I was my second job as a machinist. I was working for Ferguson Machine Company then, making intermitter units, special machinery. That's about all I'd ever built all my life is specials.
And did you have any children?
5.
Well, tell us their names.
Well, there was Sharon, the oldest. David, he died 2010. 2011, he died last year. And then there's my boy Bob, he's an electrician. Then there's my son John, he's with UPS. Then I have another girl, a daughter, that's number 5. She's living north of Rockford, Illinois. Her husband worked for Chrysler and had to move up there when they closed the St. Louis plant.
All right, so 5 children and any grandchildren?
Oh God, I got lots of grandkids, got great grandkids. But then when you're 90 years old, that happens.
That happens. So how many grandkids, can you count up how many there are?
Lord.
A guess, maybe.
There's a lot of them. Let's see, grandkids. $13.
Okay, great. That's a good number. So you came back here and had a career here, and did you live in the city of St. Louis?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Except for road trips. I always lived here.
So what did the family take any special noteworthy vacations during this time when you had all the kids? What did you do on your spare time or fun time?
Well, I did a little gardening in later years, but mostly while I was just busy just keeping up with the kids and whatnot until they left home. And I worked nights mostly. That way I got fed. Wife was more concerned with the kids, getting them to school, making them purty and all that stuff. And then with 2 daughters and a wife and 1 bathroom,
That's a problem.
that's the problem. So after the kids got done, why then I could get ready to go to work. Well, I am not going to work without breakfast, so I work nights.
Well, you should add like 3 bathrooms, you know. But anyway, well, that's good. So,
You got girls?
yes,
Do they plug the sink?
they do that, and they get little shortages and problems like that. Too many things plugged in. So, but that's part of it. It's a nice part of it, I guess.
Yeah. My daughters, they wash their hair every damn morning.
They run the hot water for a long time.
Yep, and the sink plugs up.
So on another level, do you have any other family stories that you want to tell? Because we're kind of coming to the end of the interview.
Well, not a
when-
whole lot. My second boy, he got married when he was 17. And they're still married. They're married for almost 45 years. They have a boy that is 40-something. That's my oldest grandkid.
Mhm.
And then the next one is his sister. She's 40 now. And my youngest girl, she's 50, turned 50 last fall.
Okay.
They all belong to ARP. Thank God I got enough of them for my Social Security I needed.
Oh, they're going to all contribute to you? Is that what
Well,
you're
sure, if they work, they contribute.
Well, you had to help your parents out. I guess you can send them an invoice. Well, I guess we've covered things. I'm glad you're here and you've taken time out to talk to us today. And
No problem.
we've enjoyed it. I mean, I love seeing the how they rated their bombing attacks or torpedoes and the Japanese aircraft they're shot down, because you know the Army Air Corps would put flags up for all their planes shot down. So this is the way the Navy recorded that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
all right. Thank you for your cooperation in this venture.
No
and
problem.
Wish you well and keep healthy.
Well, I'm doing real good for 91.
You
Just
seem-
don't eat in the dining room.
You seem really good for 91.
Don't eat in that dining room.
Oh,
Too much salt.
where do you go eat that?
I have mine shipped in. Well, it sent me to the hospital, and I spent 10 days in the hospital with renal failure.
Oh, so you're on like a meal plan from some low diet company?
No salt, low everything else, 1,200 calories.
See, that's why you're looking so sharp. All right, thank you again, Mr. Mueller.
It can be done, and you can do it.